This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law and has been duly advertised in the newspaper as an official meeting. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella?
Present.
Mr. McCarron?
Present.
Mrs. Barocas?
Present.
Dr. Osmond?
Present.
Mrs. Rivera?
Present.
Mrs. Cass?
Present.
Mr. Palmieri?
Present. I need a motion for approval of the agenda with addendums.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond? Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I now turn the meeting over to Mrs. Permilli for her superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Palmieri, and good evening, everyone. Typically, we get started with our student board reps. I think they're running a little bit late, so I'm going to go ahead with my superintendent's report and then pause if they come in so that we can hear some updates from the high school. So I would like to address the budget situation in a few different comments this evening. I'm going to start with just reminding everybody we have recently put out a lot of information out to our community about the 24-25 budget situation with a budget gap of $30 million. The district has reached that fiscal cliff that we predicted and communicated for years about to our Department of Education and the Governor's Office, that should the S2 state aid reductions continue here in Jackson, we would reach a point where cuts could no longer be made. They would just be too deep. Too deep, not allowing us to provide a strong, thorough, and efficient education. And we hit that cliff. We hit that cliff this year in this year's budget. And during the 23-24 budget season, after reviewing our 23-24 budget with our county superintendent and BA, he determined at that time that this district was fiscally responsible and that there was a revenue problem. He said we needed assistance and told us to request a loan or advancement of state aid, in which we did. So last year, on May 2nd, we submitted that letter requesting that. And since then, we have every month updated the Department of Ed on our cash flow, answering questions, providing data and information. Many a meeting and many a questions have been answered. It appears that that process is moving. It is moving slowly, but I wanted to be clear that we have not received any additional money or advancement of state aid from the Department of Ed for this current budget at this point. We are predicting we will receive it shortly. We're hopeful we'll receive it shortly, but no confirmation of that at this point. So I just wanted to make our community and our board aware of that. Moving on to the 24-25 budget and the planning that we're doing currently. We have recently, we communicated this, moved the public hearing on the budget to May 7th. So on May 7th, we hope to have a little bit more information at that point as to our request to the county and the Department of Ed for assistance. I would like to say a big thank you to all who have taken time to call, text, and email the governor, the commissioner, and our legislators to help us find a solution to this funding shortfall that has pushed us to the edge of this fiscal cliff we are facing. Without action on the part of decision makers in Trenton, we are facing a $30 million deficit to our budget for next year. And the state may be forced to come in and make cuts that are just unimaginable. Our staff has come in early on their own time to do what they do best, to work together to serve our students. Some of our parents, staff, and community members have shared their communications with us that they've sent, and it was exactly what we needed our decision makers to hear. The value of the activities that we have here, our athletic programs we offer to have to help our students, the impact of class sizes in the 30s and 40s will have on their education, and the devastation that will ensure happens if we do not receive this assistance. So at the risk of being a little emotional here, I would like to offer my very personal and heartfelt appreciation to all of you. We have been fighting this same fight for years. We will not stop, and it is sure nice to have some help from the community, the Board of Education, in educating the people and the decision makers. Having said that, we still need more help. We can't stop. If you haven't done so already, please see our website for how you can help. It's all right there. Emails are cut and paste that you can take right from there, sample letters you can use, or you can write your own. I have to believe if the decision makers understand what's happening here and understand what's at stake, they will work with us to find a solution. We are fiscally responsible. We do not have a spending problem here. We have a revenue problem. We have cut everything we can over the past 6 years. There's nothing left to cut that wouldn't have a deep effect on our students. We hope that people can hear our plea, our logic, and our understanding. The future generation cannot afford to lose more teachers, more opportunities, and more experiences, and should not be denied, our students should not be denied a truly healthy and safe, thorough, and efficient education. The value of the experience of education they have here is evident in our daily operations, what happens daily in our classrooms, with some of the examples you can see behind me on some of the slides that Ms. Irwin has put together. So the board may want to turn around to see some of these. One of our Jackson Liberty High School students, Kayla Simon, just earned a place in the Governor's School of New Jersey in engineering and technology at Rutgers University this summer. This is a highly, highly selective program that brings together some of the state's most talented students. McAuliffe student Katie Dressler was selected as a National Junior Honors Society Outstanding Achievement Award recipient. She is one in only 500 students across the country to win this award, which is based on scholarship, service, leadership, character, and citizenship. Amazing. This year, both of our bands got the opportunity to perform in the parade right down Main Street in Disney. We showed you some shots, some pictures from Liberty's performance last month at the board meeting, and so we're happy to showcase Jackson Memorial's performance recently in Disney. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these students, and it would not be possible without their efforts and the work of the band directors, and especially the band parents for their fundraising and volunteer efforts. Thank you to all to allow our students to have that experience. Jackson Liberty Jazz Band, well, they did it again with another first place at the Lacey High School Jazz Competition and was the only band with a superior rating. They earned section awards in saxophone and trumpet, and Jaden Ramirez earned the Best Soloist Award. The McAuliffe Middle School Jazz Band also had a very big month. They won 2 of the 4 section awards at the Liberty Jazz Festival, and student Kaylee Fiera and Kai Williams also won outstanding individual awards. Both the solar eclipse and Earth Day allowed students district-wide to experience some fun, real-time, hands-on science lessons. Kudos to our staff for always finding ways to inspire students in creative ways. I wanted to take a moment to highlight some Ivy League acceptances you see up on the screen. In the Jackson School District, we value all paths that students choose to take after graduation. But we are also very proud to be able to highlight the hard work and dedication it takes to achieve acceptance in these prestigious programs. Congratulations to all these students. Meanwhile, as you heard in our, well, you will hear in a few moments, hopefully, in our student board member updates, you'll see on our screen, our students are breaking all sorts of records, excelling both on the field and off, and are demonstrating strength in both character and initiative. With all that we have going on during this budget crisis, I cannot fully express how proud I am of our students and staff who support them. They deserve to be supported, and we will advocate and educate passionately for the privileges to continue to provide this education that they so well deserve here in Jackson. I think I saw our board member reps come in. Do we have Jamil here from Memorial? Ready to go to the mic? You can go ahead and give your report.
Good evening, Mrs. Pormilli, members of the Central Administration staff, and Board of Education members. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight in regards to Jackson Memorial High School. Summer is right around the corner, so allow me to update you on what has been happening at Jackson Memorial High School. On Friday the 26th, the school will conduct its annual Arbor Day tree planting tradition. It is in honor of Earth Day and is a cross-curricular event. The World Language Club and English Department will be writing poems about the beauties of nature. The tree planting ceremony will even have a therapy dog in attendance for the comfort of everyone. Many seniors are anticipating Decision Day, which is May 1st. The class will have the opportunity to represent their new college by wearing a sweatshirt or t-shirt that represents their college or university. The Week of Respect will be held next week as well, from April 29th to May 3rd. Each day represents a different topic. The topics are mindfulness, empathy, comfortability, resolution, and school spirit. Along with the Week of Respect, there will be a positive decision assembly by Gabe Hurley. This assembly is for juniors and seniors and discusses good decision-making, perseverance, and hard work. Gabe has a truly motivating story, and our school is very lucky to hear from him. Junior Formal is right around the corner on May 10 at Jumping Brook Country Club. Many juniors are very excited for this event, and there's been a lot of talk about this year's Junior Formal King and Queen. May 9th will be the annual Spring Band Concert. Our band has been working very hard these last couple of months, and there will be a big crowd showing their support. AP season is right around the corner as well, with over 200 students in AP classes this year. Testing begins May 6th and will end on May 20th. May 3rd begins the 6th and final marking period. I truly cannot believe it is already here, and trust me when I say it is a very bittersweet moment for the class of 2024. The next few weeks will be an opportunity for all our JMHS students to be recognized at a special academic awards, ceremonies, ROTC, honor societies, and other special department awards. Several of our seniors will be in attendance to receive the special scholarships the next few weeks as well. Very exciting. Next month, I will host the last Board of Education meeting on behalf of Jackson Memorial. After that, there will be a new student council president, and I wish good luck to whoever wins the election. I would like to take the remainder of this monthly student update to talk about a topic that I've been hearing and thinking about lately. This year was a little different than most. As a student who's attended Jackson schooling my entire life, I remember as a kid dreaming about everything I would experience when attending high school. However, with recent threatened budget cuts, many sports and academic programs, busing, and clubs may be consolidated, reduced, or eliminated completely. These wonderful programs build the positive school environment that has made Memorial an award-winning school in so many ways and created legacies for the younger generations to look up to, just like it did for me. On behalf of all students in Jackson, we kindly ask the state to contribute their part in funding this wonderful district and programs for generations of Jackson students to come. I would like to thank Mrs. Pormilli and the Board of Education for your continued support, and thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I am very excited to speak again at our next meeting in regards to all the events that have been happening at Jackson Memorial High School. Thank you. Drive safe. Have a good night.
Thank you for that, Jamil, and thank you for sharing your personal experiences and the impact that it's had on you. This is an exciting time of the year for our seniors and our students in the high school level, and all levels actually, but really very, very special for seniors. So enjoy every minute, and I can't believe a whole year already, and your last report's coming up soon. That's going to be sad. So thank you for the report. I did read my notes and shared my superintendent's report before that. High school board member report to the board, but I would also like to just conclude with all of the information on our budget is on our district website, and we also have a newly formed Facebook page, so you can follow us there and get information there as well. So we encourage you to get informed, ask questions, and again, we appreciate the support. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Permilli. At this time, the standing committees that have met in the previous month will report. We have Buildings and Grounds, Chairperson Mr. McCarron.
Yes, some building improvements, capital improvement projects that happened district-wide, where Crawford Rodriguez had the heat actuator replaced in the cafeteria. At Liberty, there was a new ice machine installed, including new electric and plumbing. Also at Liberty, the concession stand freezer had a new compressor installed. Rosenauer Playground, there was some repairs and general maintenance completed. Memorial and Liberty, all athletic scoreboards were updated with new wiring and LED lighting. Getz Room 409 had a new compressor installed. Holman, there was a roof leak repaired, and also that was to Portable 2. And then Getz Water Tank Project update, the bid will be awarded to Montana Construction Corporation, and the start date is to be determined.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. Next is Budget and Finance, and I think Mrs. Permilli reviewed that rather well. We are still undergoing our budget for 24-25. We are working with the Department of Education as well as the county. And as Mrs. Permilli said, the county is sending a couple of business administrators this week. So we'll keep you posted. May 7th is our budget meeting, and we'll move forward from there. I have Curriculum and Instruction Special Education, Chairperson Dr. Osmond.
We don't have anything to report tonight.
Thank you. We have Policy, Chairperson Ms. Cass.
Bear with me, I have a lot to read. We had a meeting on April 16th. I was in attendance, Dr. Godletsky, Mrs. Barocas, Mr. McCarron, and Mrs. Permilli. So managing for equity in education policy and regulation guides, there were mandated revisions which included, they removed the list of protected categories and replaced it with the expanded list as defined by the state code. So anything to do with minorities, ethnics, and things like that, instead of listing each one separately, they now have a code. And it also addressed comprehensive equity plans. So I will read the policies that included that. It was Policy 1140, which was Educational Equity Policies Affirmative Action. Policy 1523, which was the Comprehensive Equity Plan. 1530, the Equal Employment Opportunities. 1530, Regulation, Equal Opportunity, Employment Opportunity Compliant Procedure. Policy 1550, Equal Employment Anti-Discrimination Practices, and Regulation 2200, Curriculum Content. Then, for Policy 2260, Equity in School and Classroom Practices Revised, there was a relocation of information addressing access to adequate counseling services and updated CEP, which is the Comprehensive Equity Plans. Regulation 2260, same title, revisions provide additional guidance for a person filing a complaint, title changes, and CEP in place. Policy 2411, guidance counseling, revised, and all of these, by the way, were mandated, so just an FYI, these are all mandated policies. Additional details regarding student access to adequate counseling services and CEP. Policy 3211, Code of Ethics revised, removed the protective categories, replaced with the list. Regulation 5440, honoring student achievement, the protected categories. Policy 5570, sportsmanship, updated the categories, removing 2 optional provisions for determining unsportsmanlike conduct. Policy 5570, equitable educational opportunity. Reference to Amistad and Holocaust education was removed. They are referenced in another policy, 2260, so they're not removed from the curriculum. They're just already in another policy, so it's just taken away the redundancy. Policy 5755, equity in educational programs and services, was abolished. Policies 1523 and 2260 address all of those requirements, again, redundancy. Policy 5841, secret societies, again, changed to protective categories. Students are prohibited to form secret societies. Policies 5842, equal access of student organizations. Line number 3 has been removed, meaning no employee will lead such organization. Policy 7610 and Regulation 7610, protected categories. And Acts of Graffiti will have a court order to order the student to pay resolution to the district and be assigned community service. Policy 9323, notification of juvenile offender case disposition, protected categories, and confidentiality statement has been added to the policy. Policy 2423 and Regulation 2423, bilingual education, addresses the services for multilanguage learners need to meet or exceed the New Jersey learning standards to reach graduation and post-secondary success. The revisions are definitions, identification, organizations, and additional requirements. The title was also updated. Lastly, Policy 2431 and Regulation 2431, prevention and treatment of sports-related concussions and head injuries. It was rewritten to align with provisions of the new guidance. And we do not have another meeting scheduled as of yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cass. We have a Advocacy Committee Chairperson, Ms. Gardella.
Hi, good evening. We've been busy. I'm going to just go through the meetings that Allison Baracus, Tara Rivera, and myself have had. For the month of March and part of April, we met with Assemblyman Rumpf, Assemblyman Schaffenberger, Assemblyman Fryman, Senator Henry, Senator McKnight, Senator O'Scallion, and Senator Sarlo. We met with them virtually. The purpose was to educate them on the compounding effects of S2 funding, frozen categorical aid, and the tax cap levy that the districts had over the past years. The committees offered suggestions for solutions to assist with categorical aid funding and urge for future school funding formula revision, even possibly using different tax collections to do so. Additionally, we urged all the legislators most recently to vote no to the New Jersey state budget until all the New Jersey schools are funded adequately. We've reached out, obviously, to many more Assembly people. Assemblywoman Lampett was unavailable for a meeting. However, we did send her an email with information regarding Jackson and some of our thoughts so that she could be educated that way. We do have an upcoming meeting with Assemblyman Zawicki just to see the state of what's going on and see kind of like what our game plan should be for the coming weeks. We also have a meeting scheduled with Senator Testa, and we actually just put on the schedule, or hoping to put on the schedule, a meeting with some of the Department of Education members on behalf of the commissioner. We've also been sending out emails, looking and hoping that we hear back from Assemblyman Wimberly, Carrie Booker, and the governor's office. Additionally, we did host a meeting on March 25th with other S2 districts in our local area, kind of to brainstorm some collective advocacy work. And I'm sure that we've done other things to advocate throughout that time, but that's our list. We don't have a formal meeting schedule, but we will be meeting together with legislators until it's resolved for Jackson community and other communities in the state.
Thank you, Ms. Gardella. I need a motion for approval of policy first reading.
Motion. Second.
Discussion.
Yes, I felt like it was a lot of information to read, the 88 pages of policy, and I wanted to see for some of the more, for some of the policy, I felt like I needed more time to digest it, so I was wondering if we could table a couple of them for our next meeting.
Which policies would you like to table?
Policy 1140, Policy 1523, Policy 2260, Regulation 2260, and Policy 5750.
I need a second to that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any additional discussion?
Could you just repeat those policies you want tabled?
Sorry, Mr. Baginski. Sure. Policy 1140, Policy 1523, Policy 2260, and its regulation. Policy 5750. No. Yep.
5750?
Yes, please.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion for approval of policy abolished.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the minutes, the closed session meeting, March 20th, 2024, and the official board meeting, March 20th, 2024, business meeting. Discussion. I'm sorry, motion.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the bill list.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the treasurer's and board secretary's reports.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to open the public forum on agenda items only. We will hold another public forum during this meeting for other questions. This public forum will be for questions on the agenda only.
Motion.
Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard. The finance? Not during finance? I want to read. Okay. Absolutely. So before I open up to agenda items only, we are adding finance number 15. Finance number 15 resolved that the board approve the settlement in the matter captioned Jackson Board of Ed and the Jackson Education Association. Docket number CO-2022-239. Anyone would like to speak on agenda items only? Please come on up. Okay. Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to move official meeting schedule.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Sorry? Oh. Bless you. Just to clarify the official meeting schedule, Mrs. Permilli stated it. We're having a meeting May 7th and May 14th. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to move finance.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
I am a no to finance 13, yes to the rest. Motion to move facilities.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move programs.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I had a question regarding, I don't know if this is the right where to add it, but number 15, which was professional days requests. I was just reading it, and then it popped into my head to ask about like child study team professional development. Is that okay to ask? I don't know if it corresponds.
Sure, you can ask a
Okay.
question. Yeah, absolutely.
So, because I was looking through the professional development, and obviously I understand a lot of it's for MLL, and we have a big push regarding mental health, and I just wondered if we are training any of the social workers and psychologists, and what kind of professional development through those initiatives are we offering to them, and when we'll see that, I guess, is...
So that's a great
just like
question.
a pop question, so I just want to
A
ask.
lot of reasons why you don't see that is we do a lot of internal training because we have some very strong internal trainers. Dr. Taylor being one of them. Do you want to come and explain some of the significant trainings you've done? We've done a lot of trainings with them.
We did trainings in cultural competency, implicit bias, ACEs, childhood trauma. We also had about 17 staff members and 12 interns trained in Prepare 2 crisis training through the National Association of School Psychologists, 2-day training. It was just grant funded. So what you're seeing is we are getting a significant amount of training. As part of the School-Based Mental Health Services grant, we get training through Rutgers. We just did one on interpersonal therapy for depressed adolescents. We've done transgender. There's a whole litany of topics that we're getting free trainings on through Rutgers through that grant. So you won't see it there because we're not paying for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Any additional discussion on programs? Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Dr. Osmond.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move students.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Dr. Osmond.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move personnel.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Dr. Osmond. Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to open the public forum on any topic pertaining to the Board of Education.
Motion.
Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard.
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. I won't continue on the budget discussion because I think you've done a great deal of work. You really rallied the forces. I find it unfortunate that 420 districts got an increase and 120 didn't. So those 420 districts are probably not going to be your allies, I don't think, because they were able to get their budgets increased. Newark received a $100 million increase. So, and again, I think it's across all different demographics. Colts Neck, Monmouth, they also got an increase. So, but some areas that you would think didn't get an increase. So I think it's important that you keep educating the voters. I know for folks, we did not vote the increase that we really needed in our last budget. Keep trying, let the residents know that's important. Our students, I have a freshman and a senior in Jackson Liberty, are asking, hey, where should we live? So what do you think I'm going to tell them? All right? So that's an important part. This is a great community. I love New Jersey, but I see why my friends are moving to Florida now. So I think that's important. And then the second item was, and again, I don't want to go into details too much, but I want to remind our Board of Education, our parents, educators, there was a very disturbing attack that happened in the school in Philadelphia What makes it troublesome is that it was a middle school, and it was a 13 and a 12-year-old. And what's even worse is that it appears that the school knew that this student had some issues that should have been watched, should have been monitored. The student apparently had a hit list out on other students. So again, my students come home, we talk every night at dinner, we talk about things that are happening for them. They don't see the bullying, that some districts are being exposed to, which is a great testament to our leaders and their discipline, which has to happen. But again, I remind parents, because I'm sure a lot of those parents in Pembroke were thinking right now, wow, if we only were more involved. One person spoke on a radio show and she said, I've never been to a Board of Education meeting. Well, that night she spoke. So it's very tragic that was her first Board of Education meeting. So again, I appreciate the training that we're getting, because it's important that these young people get the therapy and the help they need. There is definitely something going on, and we really need to get to the heart of it before we lose control of these students. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I am a Jackson resident. I have a lifelong Jackson resident, went here, and have two sons. One's a freshman in college and one's a junior at Liberty. I applaud the board's stance on challenging the state to come in and make the cuts, because we're not going to do that to our kids. I did just want to kind of put out there that those of us, and I'll speak from personal experience, but I know it's not alone. We love our Liberty teachers, we love our Liberty administration and everything that they do for our kids. But as we talk about cuts for classes and things like that, as an educator myself, I know that one of the things that we first look at is like minimum numbers in order to run classes. So I did just want to put it out there that those of us at Liberty have had increasing difficulty with shifts in population and things like that, getting access to multiple sections of higher level classes, AP classes, and honors classes. So I know my oldest, junior and senior year, had to sit down and work with this guidance counselor, and choices had to be made, because there was only one section of honors physics, one section of AP Lit, one section of AP history, and not everything fit in. My junior currently couldn't take AP history because there wasn't enough to run it at Liberty, and he would have had to bus over to Memorial for the second half of the day and then try to bus back for sports. And so we ultimately decided that that wasn't best for him. So my concern is that if either the board or the state have to make the decision, say, well, 35 or 40 kids in a class, that I'm kind of just asking to be kept in the back of the mind that that bar hitting it at Liberty with our population numbers and changes in population might look much different in terms of how it's affecting our kids than it might look at Memorial, that might have run 3 or 4 sections of AP of one class, whereas we struggled to get one. So that was just the one thing that I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments, questions? Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. We'll now have board comments, starting with Mr. McCarron.
Just wanted to thank Mr. Jackson of the Getz Middle School for putting on a great show, the high school musical. From what I understand, I think he's not going to be doing the shows anymore, but he did a great job with growing. There was close to 100 students that were involved in that program, so it's a great program that he developed there. Just wanted to also acknowledge all the great things going on in district, and that I will continue to send letters and fight for our district to get proper funding. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody for coming out today. We want to definitely encourage people to keep writing letters and getting on the website, our Facebook page, and staying informed. It's really, really important. I love this district. I went to school here, so it's kind of heartbreaking when you think about this, but we need everybody's help. Also, we had a nice number of people who, on today's agenda, who were retiring, and I just wanted to wish them all luck and thank them for their service.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and viewing us on live stream. I want to ask everyone to please support our advocacy efforts, and everyone have a wonderful, safe evening.
I wanted to start off to just say thank you to all of the teachers and parents that volunteer in our schools day in and day out. I think that that's what makes Jackson schools and the success of our students, despite what the state is looking to do. You know, over the past 6 weeks, with other board members, I've sat through many meetings with legislators who talk about short-term funding solutions through bills. And you know, you listen to these best case scenarios that are going to be able to fix everything, or they give you really hard to swallow thoughts like, you can't fix this because people are already budgeted like all of this money and they need to spend it too. You know, my takeaway is that if us as a Board of Education, as volunteer elected positions, we're expected to vote no when things, you know, ethically are not right or financially don't make sense. And I say that all assembly people, senators, they should uphold their oath to the constituents that they serve and the communities they serve. You know, they're paid leaders and they need to put their political differences aside, and they need to recognize that children throughout New Jersey are being negatively impacted by the decisions of just a few. So, you know, I just want to say thank you to the community members and the teachers, the JEA, PTNs, for continuing to put some pressure on the state. And hopefully on our May 7th meeting, we have a bigger audience than we have tonight. But I really appreciate those of you who took the time to come out tonight and support us. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'd like to read a definition. It's the definition of the word fully. Fully is completely or entirely, to the furthest extent. Make no mistake, our districts in this state were not fully funded. They were partially funded. If they were fully funded, most of us would not be spending so much time trying to fix what should have been handled in the first place. So I am asking our legislators, I am asking everyone to vote no. You were voted in by the people, and it's going across the state. Now work for the people and vote no. Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone on this board for all the hard work that they're doing. They've been stressed to the max, having to answer the same questions repeatedly over and over and over again to the state. Meanwhile, we get an advocacy report from the state telling us that we're $23 million underfunded, and yet they're still questioning us. So to both these ladies' points, I totally agree, and I would like to thank both of you for all of your work. Again, you're volunteers. So I'd like to thank all the public, everyone, the teachers, everyone who's helping us to advocate for what should just be done naturally and is not being done. And as you've all seen on all the slides up here, we have amazing things in this school. We have amazing programs. None of us want to see any of that go away. So if you can just keep advocating, we will keep fighting. And other than that, everyone have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to express my gratitude to the parents who have sent emails to the governor, the Department of Education, and the state legislators. I would also like to acknowledge the effort of our teachers in our schools who have organized email campaigns before the start of the school day. Schools like Elms and Rosenauer have sent over 100 emails to the governor, Department of Education, and legislators. I was recently contacted by an assemblyman who does not represent our district, and he asked, why is he receiving so many emails from Jackson? Your voices are being heard. I appreciate all the amazing campaigns that are driving awareness to the more than 7,700 students we have in our district. And this great work is being facilitated by our school reps. Our teachers are doing an excellent job, and I encourage them to keep up the great work. I hope everyone in the JEA gets on board. The governor and the Department of Education have awakened a sleeping giant. Here in Jackson, we must continue our efforts for fair funding because our children's education depend on it. To quote President Ronald Reagan, when you can't make them see the light, Make them feel the heat. Thank you all for your hard work and dedication. Let's keep the pressure up and continue to fight for what's right. Good night. I need a motion to adjourn
Motion.
by acclamation. Aye.